So here we come to Unit 2, Intonation, Stress and Weak Forms of Words, in which we already studied Module 1 and now we have come to Module 2. In Module 2, we will talk about stress and weak form of words. In this presentation, we'll explore the importance of stress and weak form in English pronunciation. We'll learn how to identify stressed and unstressed syllables as well as how to properly use weak form of function words to sound more natural and fluent. Next is introduction to stress and weak form. So what is stress in English? Stress is the emphasis placed on certain syllables within a word or phrase. Understanding stress is crucial for clear and natural sounding English. Okay, so whenever we are saying ice cream, okay, ice cream, so we are putting more emphasis on I and scream, okay. So these are syllables. Syllables is wherever there is a vowel, like ice. No, like let's say listening. Okay, so listening has 3 syllables. Listening. Okay, listening has 3 syllables. So whenever we are putting stress on a syllable, it is known as stress. Whenever we are emphasizing on a syllable. Okay. Then what are weak form? Weak form refers to the reduced pronunciation of certain function words like s, the and to. Using weak form makes speech sound more fluent and conversational. Okay, so sometimes what people do is people don't use s, don't use a, don't use the, don't use to. But when you not use these weak forms, you can eradicate them. But if you don't use them, the speech becomes very non-fluent and non-conversational. But when you use them, it becomes more fluent and conversational. Now next is the role of stress in English. So first role given is distinguished meaning. Okay, stress can change meaning of a word, as in present versus present. Okay, present is a noun, present is a noun. Okay, now the spelling is the same, but we are giving stress to pre. Okay, present. Okay, versus present. Now we are giving stress to zent. Okay, when it was present, it was a verb. Now when it is present, it is a, sorry, it was a noun, but now when we are saying present, it is a verb. Okay, next is the role of stress is indicates importance. It indicates importance. Okay, whenever we are emphasizing on something, means it is important. So stress syllables convey the most important information in a phrase or sentence. Okay, next is it provides rhythm. Like the falling and rising intonation provided melody, the emphasis on certain syllables and stress, it provides rhythm to the language. So stress patterns create the natural rhythm and flow of spoken English. Next is stressed and unstressed syllables. So stressed syllables are pronounced with more force, volume and length. They are the focal points of a word or phrase. Okay, now whenever we are talking with some syllables that are stressed, we provide more force to it. It has more volume, it has more length. Okay, we are stretching it, like I'm saying stretching it, so we are providing it more length. They are the focal points of our word or phrase. Because if we want to know one thing very clearly, like I told you in the previous module about the process of photosynthesis, and if I want to focus on sunlight in the process of photosynthesis, then I will say the word sunlight with more volume, with more length, with more force. I'll say like sunlight. Okay, I'll say like this. Then next is unstressed syllables. Of course, the vice versa of stressed syllables. Unstressed syllables are reduced in volume and duration and are less prominent in the overall pronunciation. Okay. Now again, when I'm talking about the process of photosynthesis, everyone know that it needs water. Okay, so I don't need to stress upon it. So I'll just say water. It has no greater volume, no greater sound, no greater length. I just said plainly water. So water is a unstressed syllable over here. Okay. Then identifying stress. Stress can be identified by listening for the syllables that are longer, louder and have a higher pitch. Okay. So whenever we are identifying stress, we need to look for a longer, louder, and having a rising pitch of the sound. Okay. Next is weak form of function words. First, we'll know about function words. Function words such as article, preposition, and pronouns have a weak form pronunciation in natural speech. Whenever we are saying these words like the, a, sometimes we miss saying this, or sometimes we're saying it in a so low pitch that people cannot understand what I'm saying, or they don't even bother because they are function words. They are articles, prepositions. Okay. Then weak form. The weak form involves reduced vowel sounds and shorter duration resulting in more natural conversational delivery. Okay. So if we talk about the American accent, so here we miss out so many words. Okay. We miss out so many words like the. So we are like, oh, so it, suppose we are talking about okay, so when we are saying it's so it is emerged in its. Okay, we are not understanding that is a different syllable over here. Okay, so these are the weak forms. Next is identifying weak form usage. Okay, so first is listen closely. So how to identify weak form? Okay, first is to listen closely. Pay attention to how native speakers pronounce common function words in connected speech. So like I was talking about American accent. So if you listen an American person, you will know exactly where he is making the pronouns articles weak and where he is giving them importance. Okay. Next is to recognize patterns. Notice when function words are reduced and unstressed versus when they are pronounced more strongly. You have to notice the pattern when they are highly pronounced, when they are lowly pronounced. Okay, everything. Then practice identification. Now try to practice all the above things which I told you, like listening clearly and knowing the stress words, and recognizing patterns. You should recognize the patterns. Next is practicing weak form in conversation. First is listen. Again, how to practice? You have to pay most attention to listening. Okay. I also say that any other language cannot be learned with just a teacher. Okay, you need to listen things in that language, you need to write things in that language, you need to comprehend things in that language. So watching movies in that language, listening songs in that language comes into very handy. Okay. Next is imitate. You need to imitate what they are talking. You need to say the sentences after them. Okay, you need to imitate. Then repeat. If you are imitating, then say those sentences in public also to others. Okay, so that your practice gets better. Next is what were the key takeaways is how to master stress, is understanding stressed and unstressed syllables and rectifying them and recognizing them mostly. You have to recognize them. That is when you can create your own rhythm while speaking. Okay. Then embracing weak form. You need to embrace weak form. Okay. You should know where you need to pronounce them properly and where you don't, just for a fluent conversation. Next is continuous practice. Of course, you need continuous practice for that. Thank you.